Hi guys, it's the Forgetful Scholar and let's chat about books. 2 books this week. So Goldilocks and Forest Ancient and Powerful, okay? So for the first book I'm going to talk about would be kind of Goldilocks ? It's Big Bad Claws Forever Brothers Book 2 by Michele Mills. Okay. And this is going to be a 3-star for me. It's very meh, one of her books. I liked it better than the first Alien Hunter book, but like there's a lot of things I liked that I wish were expanded upon. And yes, this week I did 2 novellas because it's been a hell of a week. So that's all I could fit in. So I don't even remember, dang it. Why is my, Lila, how could I not remember her name? I love the name Lila. Like seriously. I have to stop myself from naming all my Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder characters Lila. Anyway, so Lila is human on New Earth, and her parents were very wealthy, so she's very privileged. And I really, see the thing is, I really liked Lila, because she was a different kind of romance character, in the sense that, you know, she's plain looking, she has like a very prominent Roman nose, she describes herself very square, like very thin and very square shaped body. And the thing that I really liked in the beginning, she's a agoraphobe. Like she's agoraphobic. Like she's scared of going outside, and you find out why later, and you're like, yeah, totally. And I was super excited about that. Like I wanted to explore that like a lot. And I was kind of disappointed it didn't. So Lila, after her mother and brother died like 3 years ago, her father remarried, and he died about a year to 6 months ago. I don't remember. So her stepmother, who Lila thought they were besties, hires assassins to kill her so the stepmother can take over the company. So the assassin kind of like, your father saved my life when I was a kid, so I can't kill his daughter, so I'm sending you to a random ass planet. Get the F out of here, right? So she puts her in the transport and just sits to random, so the assassin doesn't know where she is either. She ends up on the mining colony from Fever Brothers 1. And it's raining, stormy, she doesn't know where she is, she's very illegal, she's freaking out. I wanted more because she's agoraphobic. I wanted more. I wanted more terror. I wanted to see how hard it is for them to even contemplate going outside. And yeah, in that moment, the assassin kind of drags her, but I wanted, because we were in her POV, I wanted to feel more. You know what I mean? We just kind of got a quick segment? A quick blurb about this is what she was working towards with her therapist. And I'm just like, no, no. You know, I have like a few people in my life that I really adore, some of my favorite people, and they have agoraphobic symptoms. And it's not that they don't want to go outside, it's that they physically can't, you know, and panic attacks and things like it's a serious thing. And I wanted it just to have a little bit more weight. And yes, I know this book is like 125 pages. I get that. I do. Then don't put it in. You know what I mean? Because I was really upset that it wasn't more of a plot point. So she wanders through the woods and she ends up in the Fever Brothers' dilapidated compound, and she finds just the right bed and snuggles up and sleeps. And I was like, all right, very Goldilocks, but okay. The brothers show back up, and Claus, what was his Zazans, I'm just gonna call him Claus, is the only one that can smell her, because these brothers can smell if they're mate compatible, because usually, Xylons, I think, have to touch to see if they're compatible, so that's why the unmated ones wear gloves, right? And apparently he's really sought after, but he's like, no, I turned everybody down because they're just not my mate. So I'm like, okay. And when she gets there, it was storming, so she thinks she's by herself, so she takes off her clothes to let it dry overnight. and she wakes up and there's the alien in her bed. Okay. Okay. And she can't understand what he's saying. I do like that they made sure that detail was in it, that, you know, she didn't get the translator chip because she's there illegally. I wasn't happy about how he kind of just drags her to get it put in, and that's that. And I'm like, you're agoraphobic. You know, just because you're holding his hand doesn't make it go away. Yes, like, he could make you feel safe, but there's still issues there. And I was like, no, come on. Come on. You put the groundwork for such an interesting character. Let's go. So I was disappointed by that. The evil stepmother finds out where she is and sends assassins. Now, one of the big problems I have with this writer is that they do a lot of action scenes off page. I hate that. And the only part I liked in the bounty hunter alien thing that I read like a couple weeks ago was that we saw the main male character fight the bad guy, and it was a good fight scene. So I don't know why this author doesn't really like writing. Maybe they just don't like it. I don't know. Then stop making your male characters like in situations where they have to fight and then we don't get to see it on page. Like, that's a little weird. But they find her. They sent like 2 assassins show up early. She runs into the woods and there's like a moment of like fear before she runs outside, but like just not enough. For agoraphobic, it just wasn't enough. And it looked like she was more afraid of the assassins. I get that, but agorophobia is an irrational fear. You know what I mean? It's not something you can control. It's a phobia. So even if there is another threat there, that's still like a huge, huge hurdle to overcome, you know? So like, it really bothers me that like, oh, he's so strong and I'm brave with him. I mean, it would be great if we saw her stand up on her own and slowly get over it herself. But again, a short book, you know? And she runs out into the woods. Claws, they're alerted that people have entered their compound because she won't tell them why she's there, but the brothers know she's running from something, so they're kind of on high alert, right? Claws runs after her in the woods and like decimates the assassins. And I was like, that's a good fight scene. Thank you. There's other assassins coming in on a teleport system they have, but the other brothers go and stop the other 8 assassins. I think it's like 6 brothers to 8 assassins. We don't see that fight. I'm like, okay. And then it was just like a really weirdly timed mating. Because like when this race touches their mate with their bare hands, the mating ritual starts. And you can't really stop it, right? But this was like in the middle. She almost got killed. He almost fell off a cliff. She accidentally touched his bare hands, even though she knows that they're supposed to be mates. And she's, throughout the book, she was kind of coming to grips with that, which I liked because this author does do that well. Like, insta-lust, but something is a barrier, so they actually get to know each other and fall in love. That is one of the things I really like about this writer, because they do write novellas, so I like how snappy they do that. I'm not really a fan of insta-lust, but they always slow it down so that the characters actually get to know each other as people, not just bang. You know what I mean? So the mating ritual starts, so they bang in the woods in the middle of an assassin attempt. And I was like, well, this is weirdly timed. I'm not sure how what? There's like 8 other assassins coming after her, maybe more. We don't see that fight with the brothers, so we don't know how what's going on over there. This is supposed to be like a real threat, and you guys are just banging in the woods. And I was like, this could have done like after the assassins were taken care of, before the assassins showed up. This is just like a weirdly timed moment, you know? Then, happy ending, woo! One of the things that did bug me too, because the company is like this multi-million-dollar company, and like the last bit of the third act, because Xylons, you live in like they're multi-generational. That's just part of their culture. They're multi-generational. He doesn't want to move out of the compound, right? So the last bit of the third act, she's like, well, I never really wanted the company anyway, so I'm going to give it to my cousin who's wonderful. And I'm like, what? In in no part of this book did you think that. Like, maybe in the beginning, before all this mess started, before the assassin showed up, if the character was like dreading taking over the company, but didn't, like, internally dreading it, but didn't want to say anything because didn't want to seem ungrateful, then I would have been like, okay, you know what I mean? And then she figured out a way to give the company to her cousin who's been working at the company and who is a generally good character in this book. He's a good guy. Then I would have been like, okay, you know, or like because it would be completely understandable throughout the book that if we got hints that all she wants to do is be a stay-at-home parent, because that is 100% valid and probably one of the hardest jobs because there's no clock out. That's 24/7, you know what I mean? Especially since her whole family died and she's all left alone except for her and her cousin, and his all family died, you know, so it's just them. So I could understand her wanting to have a family and be a stay-at-home parent, and that's what she really wants. 100% cool with that. I just want hints about that throughout the book. Stop shoving things at, you know, in the third act that's supposed to make everything make sense when you don't put any clues in that, any breadcrumbs leading to that in the other parts of the book. Okay. Now, what I liked about this book, again, this writer's fantastic at world building, especially in such a short amount of time they have. And I always like how they world build. It's very organic feeling. The anthropology nerd in me really liked that we got more of the Xylon culture and how it's different and all the, like, just we got more of that. Like, I liked that a lot. I didn't hate it. I was just kind of confused by some of their choices. I really liked how Lila, at least on the surface, was very different. And they're very good about making the characters very different from each other from all their books, so I appreciate that. I just wanted more of the effects of glorophobia. Like, that is a serious thing. Like, I wanted just a little bit more. So that's why this is, like, I think, like, 2.5. Like, I can't really give it 3 stars because there wasn't, like, a moment like, oh, I really love this. It was just like, all right, this is okay. That's the thing with this author. I mean, it wasn't as bad as, like, that one book they wrote where the guy was, like, secretly in the same house as the girl for 6 months. I am never going to forget how crazy that fucking book was. I'm just telling you right now. So, I have... Anyway, 2.5 stars. So, I'm going to go for, like... Now, the second book, you know, Forest for the Win. A forest, ancient and powerful, you know. The Huntsman... And it's The Huntsman, Blosdwen Forest, Book 1 by Megan Derr. And as the title suggests, it's sort of like a playoff of Snow White. Now this one is 5 stars. I forgot to say, the first book, FM, contemporary sci-fi paranormal monster romance. This one is MM, fantasy... paranormal romance with a little bit of folklore sprinkled on, just a little sprinkle. As the title suggests, this is very much like a Snow White take on it. And oh shit, I just realized both books have an evil stepmother. How did I just realize that now? Okay, so it focuses on Calder, who is the huntsman of the Blosdwen Forest. And in this universe, it's like a very deep, ancient, magical connection between the forest and the huntsman. So, like, even the king or queen don't have power over the forest. The forest and the huntsman sort of are like partners, you know? The king seems like everybody really liked him because of little conversations here and there. He comes back from his travels early with a new bride. And things started to get very fishy. So the princess nickname is Snow White because she has skin as snow as what snow as white as snow. And her and Calder are good friends. Like he kind of feels like very much like an older brother, little sister kind of connection between the two. So Calder very quickly realizes that the queen is an evil witch because she has enchanted pretty much everybody except the princess and him, and he knows that because this is very much oh, what do you call it? A second chance romance. Normally I don't like those, but this was done pretty well. So his ex, Lev, was studying magic when they were together in college, and I guess he was studying to be a huntsman in their schooling, and then they parted amicably because that was the deal. And both of them were too chicken shit to say that they loved each other. So he picked up what someone under a curse looks like from Lev, and he has this powerful amulet that protects him again from his ex, so he's not put under the curse. And I feel really bad for Calder because he kind of has to go along with the curse, and she cursed everybody to like be her willing slave, you know, and a very like Black Widow, I think it's called, curse. So even though the only person he's ever loved is Lev, and he still loves him 10 years later, very much like a gay man, I guess, because they don't really specify, but he like has to pretend to like kissing her and like touching her in places, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh, poor buddy. You know, I would have liked, you know, when he was in a safer place for him to like indulge a little bit more how traumatic that was, but I get it. This was like 90 pages, and I just, man, I don't know, this week I just wanted more explanation on the trauma, I guess. I don't know, I think I've been in a weird place this week. Anyway, so he's, you know, resistant to the curse, but he goes along with it to protect the princess and the people as much as he can. Now, okay, so I'm going to explain 3 main characters in the story. And the forest is one of the main characters in the story, which I really, really like. So, Lev is a powerful mage, and he's works for a king in a faraway kingdom. And his best friend is a very powerful alchemist that I think is for the next book. And he hasn't forgotten Calder, and he loves him even 10 years later, right? So Calder has a best friend who is a goblin, which I really like that relationship. And I know the goblin's going to have a book. I think it's the next one. Because the moment the author describes a goblin taller than a normal goblin. And it's so very handsome. And I'm like, okay. He goes to get Lev. Because Calder is a very stubborn son of a bitch. And he thinks it's his duty to take care of this and not to bother Calder and bother Lev, right? And Lev is like, that's stupid. Of course I'm coming. Let's go. So they go to the Blosdwen forest to help Calder. Meanwhile, Calder is trying to appease the evil queen and pretends he's under the curse. And when it's figured out it's not, she tries to kill him with all this magic. And the only reason he survives is because of the amulet. And he's thrown in front of his precious woods, you know? So the third main character in this book is the woods. So throughout the whole story, I mean, it gives you a clue that the woods is a big deal because of the subtitle, you know, but throughout the whole story, the woods is more of an active participant. You don't get their POV or anything like that, but it guides Calder to, so at one point the evil queen wants a fawn, a baby deer, and Calder is kind of disgusted by that because, you know, it's a baby. He doesn't want to kill it. But the forest shows like a fawn that is struggling to live and is going to die soon, you know, and then when the evil queen is killing off all these young people to steal their youth, he takes the bodies to the forest and asks the forest to hide them, keep them safe, and preserve them for hopefully proof soon when they can rid themselves of this evil. So the forest does that, you know what I mean? And when Calder's near death, the forest is pouring so much of its life energy into Calder to keep it alive. And that's how Lev, the goblin, and the alchemist find Calder, because the forest was trying to keep him alive, right? So they meet up, they heal him, and he's in a coma for like a week. They figure out a way to lure the evil queen into the part of the woods that people have forgotten is actually part of the woods. Because a big deal in this world, and I really like this, is that the wicked queen, no one can do magic in the woods except the Huntsman. That's why he's such a big deal, why she was so like intent on controlling him. So it's sort of like a neutral ground, you know, unless the woods allows you to do magic on it, you can't, right? So, and they did a really clever thing with Snow White and integrating the story and the dwarves and everything. And I'm gonna leave you to discover that because that was a lot of fun. So they go to the clearing and they're all hiding out, pretending Snow White is dead and mourning it. And the witch comes in disguised. And I think the forest lets Calder know because we're in Lev's Prov. Sorry, so we're in Lev's Prov, so we don't really see that. And I like that we're in Lev's Prov at this point for the most part because he's the one that actually has to kill the witch, you know what I mean, with like fire, because it's the only way you could do it. You have to burn the witch to complete ash and then bury the ash away, you know, so no one can like reanimate them or something. So he begs the forest, so like Calder jumps on the old lady that's actually the evil queen and like the witch is all confident because she doesn't realize this is part of the woods and she tries to do the spell. Her magic's not working, so she freaks out a little bit. And Calder asks the forest to hold her down so Lev can take care of her. And the forest, being the sassy bitch it is, like vines wrap around her, but they also have huge thorns. So she's screaming in pain. I was like, yeah, bloodthirsty, let's go. And like Lev, you know, burns her to ash and everything like that. So there's a happy ending. I like that this was a Snow White revisit, but like the Huntsman and an OC character were the main things. I really enjoyed it. 5 stars. I'm looking forward to The Alchemist, the second book. There we go. Okay, so this was the week of Eagle Stepmothers, apparently, and I can't believe I just realized that now. Like, wow. Anyway, I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.